everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a quick review video for you, and I'm going to try not to ramble too much. So I just recently got this in the mail, as you would have seen in my last video, because I used it there, and it is the Violet Voss Holy Grail palette. And I have a lot of feelings about this. This palette sold out in under 2 minutes, and I thought that was kind of crazy with how much Violet Voss hyped this palette up. I mean, they were advertising it really heavily, having really prominent YouTubers advertise it very heavily. The really prominent YouTubers, the Desi Perkins, the Kathleenlights, you know, all those people who have 1 million+ subscribers have had this palette for like 2 months now. So if not more than that, it might be more than that. They might have gotten this before the end of the year last year, and they've been talking about it since. And like, I was one of the people who was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna go buy this the second it comes out. I am there, I am ready for this. And the day it came out, it was noon my time, then it came out, and I actually signed on to the Violet Voss website at literally 12:02 and it was already sold out. And they only had like 14,000 units of this, which I think is crazy for how much they hyped it up. And I understand like creating the supply-demand type of thing, but it was almost insulting how quickly it sold out. This isn't a Kylie Jenner lip kit. It's not something, you know, Violet Voss is not MAC. So while on the one hand I can understand them not having a ton of units because they're a smaller company, I can understand that. But at the same time, then don't advertise it to a point where you can't fill that demand, you know? So I understand this is a limited edition palette, and I understand that, but it kind of leaves the same taste in my mouth that the original Lorac Mega Pro did. And I got that palette and I love it, but you know, I know that a lot of people still to this day are like salty about it because it sold out so quickly and it was such a hyped product that then such a small fraction of people could get their hands on. So they've since released other ones. LadyMoss.com actually had these, and that's where I got this one. Into the palette itself. So this palette is $52, and you get a basic cardboard palette. Nothing fancy, nothing special. You get a decent sized mirror, try not to blind you, and you get 20 eyeshadows. And the shadow size seems pretty large. However, the first time I used this palette was in the video I posted on Tuesday, and it was Saturday. It was last Saturday that I used this, and I've used it almost every day since. And the first time that I went to use some of these colors, I was like, something's wrong. And it's really in the shimmery colors. So colors like Ploof, colors like How You Doin', and I'm trying to read backwards here, On Fleek, So Jelly, colors like that are really highly shimmery are terrible. They're terrible. And in my video, if you're paying attention, you can see where I cut away, because every time that I go to re-dip my brush into a pan, I tend to edit that out just because it's, you know, empty space. I don't need to put that in there. And excuse me, if you're paying attention, when I go into Ploof and when I go into How You Doin' in that video, I go in 4 or 5 times, and I think I actually cut out the last few. I think I went in, especially with How You Doin', 6 or 7 times just to get the color to show up. And then when it finally does show up, it goes on chunky. And I noticed this especially, I think on Monday, I used On Fleek, and I was just going to put that all over the lid and then blend a matte color in the crease. And On Fleek went on the same way that a pigment would go on if you were using Fix Plus, and like a ton of Fix Plus. If you were like to soak your brush in Fix Plus and then dunk your brush in the pigment and then try to work that on the lids, it comes off in like one big chunk that is super hard to blend out, and then also super hard to match. So it, you know, the color looked good in that chunk, but then like trying to make sure that every chunk I would put on my eye otherwise would look the same as that first chunk. I hope that makes sense. It was like impossible, and I was floored because this palette is $52 frickin'. You know, you would expect to get good shadows in it. And again, for how hyped this palette is, for how much people were talking about it, it's super disappointing that 6, 7 of the colors are like completely unusable almost. They either don't show up, or when you do finally get the pigmentation there, it's this giant chunk of stuff you can't blend out and is really, really hard to work with. And so far I've noticed that the mattes are okay. I'm wearing a lot of the mattes on my lids right now, and I don't mind them. And the satin colors, so like Bat My Eyes and Cool Beans, which are the ones I've used so far, are not bad. They're okay. They go on, you know, as you would expect them to, but I do notice that these shadows crease, and I do notice these shadows fade, which is not something that I am accustomed to dealing with. And I do prime my lids every day, so it's one of those things that, you know, you buy something because everybody's talking about it, and it happens to everyone. Everyone does this. And, you know, that whole YouTube made me do it and it didn't turn out well type of thing. For more than a fourth of these shadows to not perform well at all is really bad. Like, it's really bad. I just don't understand. I don't understand how it was so hyped up in the first place. I don't understand how this is so expensive, especially because knowing the industry, it doesn't really cost that much to make a palette. This palette is nothing special. It's cardboard. It, you know, it's just a regular magnetic closure. It doesn't have any bells or whistles. It, you know, all of the cost to make this should have gone into the shadows, since the packaging is so cheap. So for those shadows, for, you know, a good chunk of those shadows to not turn out well is really disappointing. And it also sucks because these swatch pretty well. This is one dip into On Fleek, and looking at that you would think like, oh, that's awesome, these must go great on the eye, and they just don't. This is, oh, I'm sorry, this is How You Do It, and this is On Fleek. And, you know, you would think, again, looking at these, that this is so, you know, these are going to be great, amazing shadows, but they swatch better than they go on the eye. And I've used natural hair brushes, I use synthetic brushes, and I've used a mix of natural and synthetic brushes, because I do have dual fiber ones, and, you know, all of them they don't work well on. And for me, a shadow like that, like, for it to only work using your fingertips, it's pretty much useless to me. I have giant fat fingers and really small lid space, so for me, having a shadow that I can only use that way, you know, I'm never going to use it. And, you know, even ColourPop shadows, I have found brushes that work amazingly well with those, and I don't have to only use my fingers. So I don't know, I'm so torn, because while there is a majority of shadows that I can use, the mattes, like I said, are okay. Some people complain that they're powdery. I don't necessarily mind that. As long as the pigmentation is there, I don't really care if a shadow is powdery. I don't care if it's crumbly, but these shadows are very crumbly. I love the colors in here, and that's the whole reason I got the palette in the first place. I think the colors are amazing. They're colors that I would use on a daily basis. They're colors that I look at and there's not a single one in here that I wouldn't use. It's one of those palettes that if all the colors were good, you know, that it's not like other palettes where you get one and you're like, oh, I'll never use that color. You know, that one of these colors I'll never use. Because I do have a lot of palettes like that where I love the vast majority of them, but there's one or two that I'm like, no, I would never use that. You know, this isn't one of those palettes. I would use every single one of these colors, but not all the colors perform. So, you know, if you are one of the people who didn't get your hands on this, I would pass. And, like, that sucks, because I don't want to, you know, bad talk, because I feel like I'm bad talking this whole Violet Voss as a whole, which I'm not. You know, I've dealt with other companies, other small companies not handling releases very well. It happens. You know, I think Morphe does the same exact thing with the 35O palette, and, you know, again, I think they do it on purpose. I think they do it to build the, you know, demand for it, just to only release a limited supply, so there's always demand, which is whatever. It's whatever. It's a business tactic that they want to use, and that's fine. And I would totally look past that like I do with Morphe if the quality was there, and it's not. So I just feel, I don't know. I'm sure that I will keep this palette. I'm sure that I could return it if I really wanted to. I don't. I don't want to go through the hassle of that. I don't have the original box. I already threw that away thinking I was going to love it. So I don't really want to have to go through the hassle of trying to return this. But I just don't think it's worth the $52 plus shipping I paid for it at all. I really want to love it. Like, I want to love it, and I'm sure I will continue to give it a shot, but every single day I've tried to use one of the shimmery shadows, and every single day it's performed the exact same way, badly. So it's really disappointing. But yeah, so that is my review of this. I know it's a little bit all over the place, and that's just, again, because I'm so disappointed in it. But I'm gonna stop rambling, trying to cut myself off so that, you know, this is a short and sweet video. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about this palette, if you have it or if you still want it. Is it something that you're gonna go for? If you have it, what do you think of it? Did I get a dud? I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way, because I have friends who have this palette and they don't like it. So I don't know if maybe we got a dud batch and other people find this to be a good palette, but I do know that even when I was watching Crispy's tutorial with this palette, she even said, like, whoa, Plouffe swatches really nicely but goes on terribly, you know? So I know that other people are having the same issue that I am. Okay, seriously, done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what your thoughts on this palette are, and I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week with a new video. Bye, everyone!